Good evening and welcome to Sporlitiks, where sports and politics mix and mingle. I'm Stacy. Joining me tonight is Aguna, who's going to come on later, the Nigerian moderate Republican. Keith, the constitutional conservative. Stephen, the independent thinker. And my cousin Todd. We've got a full show for you tonight. And a 6-3 ruling, the Supreme Court justices affirmed the power of state courts to review state laws governing federal elections. Okay, turn your sound off. NASCAR with Steven. I guess he's got some good stuff for us. Russia pulls back from the brink of crisis after a deal was reached to end Wagner insurrection. Sad day for the NFL. Former NFL quarterback Ryan Mallett, 35 years of age, dies in an apparent drowning in Florida as a deadly rip current haunts the Gulf Coast beaches. Kansas Attorney General, that's the state of Kansas, seeks to bar transgender people from updating their birth certificates. Former House Republican Liz Cheney said, "We've seen now with the audio tape that is out today, as you well know, that there is simply no question that he's unfit to be the president of the United States." And she was talking about Donald Trump. Ted Cruz calls on the House of Representatives to investigate impeaching Biden over Hunter Biden allegations. Direct evidence, Cruz said, that the WhatsApp messages were direct evidence of President Biden abusing his government power. Additionally, Speaker Kevin McCarthy plans to open an impeachment inquiry into Attorney General Merrick Garland if House Republicans don't get what they consider satisfactory answers from the Justice Department on the criminal investigation of Hunter Biden, President Joe Biden's son. That and more, if we can fit it in. First up, Stephen with NASCAR. I want to say before you start, Stephen, that our thoughts and prayers are with the family of Jimmy Johnson. His in-laws were killed in an unfortunate, I think, suicide, some sort of horrible thing. Stephen.
Yes. These things happen in the best of families, and the Johnson family never had anything like this happen. But everybody prays for them. We hope the best for them, and everything just has to go on. It's life. That death is the result of a life, no matter how you go. But on a more positive note, Ross Chastain, my driver, if people have been paying attention, won the race this weekend in great fashion. He got on the pole to start with, which means he's leading. He's in first place to start the race. And he faltered a little bit, went down a little bit, but he still remained where he needed to be to win the race. He had everything at the end, and he's such a great driver. And I had him to win the race. I had him top 3. I had him beaten. They put him against Bubba Wallace, which you never know with Bubba because he's wiry. You never know what he's going to do. But everywhere I could take Ross, I took him because he's starting on the pole, because that's always a good place to start. But as everybody knows, that was a wonderful race. I didn't think it was going to be that great, but it was a great race. But this week, the anticipation is through the roof. It's in Chicago, and if anybody's near that Chicago at the time, maybe can go to the race, maybe find a way to stand on the street somewhere, because this could be a street race within the city of Chicago that they have barred off, and they have like safe walls and not so safe walls, but nobody can come onto the track or whatever. But I think it's a great idea. It's the first time NASCAR has ever done it. It's must see TV, even if you're not a NASCAR fan. It's something that's new. It's unique to this sport, to NASCAR. I mean, they've done it before in F1. I think it was F1, but they've never done it with NASCAR cars. It should be a blast. It should be a lot of fun, and it should be a positive occasion for everybody. And I just can't wait. And again, with Ross Chastain, this is the kind of track that he can do well at as well. We're nearing about the midway mark, so if he can do well here, they have a few more road courses coming up, and can get everything together, maybe he can win the championship. And of course, I have him for the championship. So everything's falling in line at this point, and NASCAR is just great. If you can watch this weekend or go back to watch this last race, and then watch this weekend, you might be impressed with what you see, because what they're putting out right now is really impressive. And I'm anticipating a great race. But when they do something different you've never seen before for NASCAR, it could be a complete flop. And that's interesting enough to tune in for as well. So I'm looking forward to it this week, Stacey.
Sounds good. Let me share my screen. Sad news. You know, and I had read this earlier. If you can see here, let me make the screen bigger. Former NFL quarterback Ryan Mallett, 35 years old. That's young. It may not be young in NFL years, but it is young in regular years. Dies in an apparent drowning in Florida as deadly rip currents haunt Gulf Coast beaches. This was written today and updated at 10:37 a.m. by Jameel Lynch and Kevin Dotson. That's a picture of him. I had heard and read that there were rip currents that people really had to watch out for near Pensacola Beach in Florida. So, you know, that's on the Gulf Coast. And that, you know, there were, like, at that time when I read that, 9 deaths, but it has since grown to 11. So it's horrible, because we know that he was probably a very strong young man in excellent shape, I'm sure. And for him to get caught in a rip current, it tells everyone, please be careful when you go out on the beaches and you go swimming. The waters may look calm, but it isn't necessarily true. Let's see where he last played. I think he last played in
New England.
He was a star with the Arkansas Razorbacks before being drafted in 2011 in the 3rd round by New England Patriots. He spent 7 years with the Patriots, Houston Texans, and Baltimore Ravens. The New England Patriots are deeply saddened. NFL star Tom Brady took to social media to mourn his teammates, saying, "We lost a great man." He was the head football coach for the Whitehall High School Bulldogs in Whitehall, Arkansas, where he also taught physical education and health. Our thoughts and prayers to his family, to his students, and to his fans. Oh, sad story. Anything else with sports before we move on?
Yes, Stacey, you have to watch out for the rip current like that in Florida. My son and I were out a little bit out in the ocean, a little bit, way more than he could take at the time, and he was little. And all of a sudden, he just disappeared. He was gone. He was just rolling the other way. And I got caught up to him, caught him, and to swim with him. And it was all I could do to hold on to him and get him back to the shore. And we were like hundreds of yards past where we were before. You know, it's just like, it was the worst. And it is something you do not play with. It's real. It's the rip current or anything in the ocean. It can really mess you up really quick. So you have to be on your on your toes.
Yeah. And I was told, that with the rip currents, I guess you go with it. Don't try to struggle against it, and then you try to circle out toward parallel with the shore, right?
Right.
And to get out of that current. Yeah. And sometimes it's better to swim on your back. If you can swim on your back, you can last longer than if you swim on your stomach.
That's true. And when you're holding somebody and you're swimming on your back and you got them around like this, they're like this. It takes a little more work than it's just with you. But it was my mom was there at the time, and she was 100 yards or more the other way, and she's screaming, thinking that we've both drowned. And I'm trying to holler at her, but she can't hear me because the beach is packed. But that was around Daytona.
Right.
But it turned out to be a good day.
Yeah, that was around Daytona. That was the east coast of Florida.
Yes, right.
And this happened on the west coast. But yeah, it can happen anywhere on a beach.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
so
I just wanted to also say we have a lot of sharks now hanging around down here in California. So I wouldn't even suggest.
That's exciting. Do you get in the water, Keith?
Not anymore. I don't go in as much as I'm not as strong a swimmer as I used to be, because I don't go in there. I don't practice all the time because, I don't want to deal with no sharks.
I figure I've eaten enough fish in my life. If I happen to get eaten, it'll come out even.
Yeah.
All right. On to Russia, Ukraine. On to Russia, Ukraine. Let me share my screen. Cousin Todd, do you want to talk about what happened with Russia, Ukraine? This article on CNN.com says inside Biden's dramatic back channel to Russia as a near coup unfolded. The U.S. reached out to Russia at a critical moment to ensure there was no confusion about its lack of involvement. You see President Biden getting off the helicopter, Air Force One helicopter. Todd.
Okay. Putin is probably going to try to act as if the United States were involved, which the United States was not involved. You have challengers constantly in Russia. And this was just another challenger. You will be challenged. He's been a dictator for over 20 years. So the next dictator is raring and willing to come on board. So he was challenged and it embarrassed him, and he needs somebody to blame it on. Though he has yet to blame the United States, but I'm sure that's coming. But
so if you look at this Politico.com article, it says everything was done to ensure that Russia didn't see an American hand in all this, said Ian Bremmer, the president of the Eurasia Group, who first wrote about the back channel conversation in his weekly client newsletter. From a U.S. perspective, Stephen, that was actually quite useful, being able to communicate to Moscow that America's policy is to defend Ukraine and help them get their land back, but that it's not a regime change or destroying Russia role that the United States has. Stephen.
Well, as everyone knows on this show, I'm sure the United States will do anything they want. They'll take somebody out of a position of power and they'll put somebody else in. If we want Putin out and we have the means to do it, we may be part of that. We may do something like that where we'll go in there and then we'll just take him out and we'll put somebody else we want. It might be worse. We don't know. But we have a long history of this in this country where we place people in different positions. And, we're on the side of Ukraine. Why would we not try to help Ukraine out and get rid of Putin?
Stephen, be careful and please do not blame, because you'll get yourself in trouble. I don't want you to be as stupid as your boyfriend, Donald Trump. Don't get yourself in trouble and blame the United States government for doing something they did not do.
Now, we don't know what they did or did not do. Your assumption is the United States is not involved, but you're assuming. You don't know.
No.
Who told you? Did Oprah tell you we're not involved?
No, ma'am. The president of the United States, whether you like him or not, said we had nothing to do with this. So for you to put out propaganda, you sound like Putin. Don't do that. And if you don't like America, move to Russia.
Joe Biden never tell the truth. You understand that, right? He never tells the truth.
If you don't like how America operates, get out of America.
You don't like how America operates, but for some reason you're supporting this evil regime that is operating in a very evil way, and I don't understand it.
What regime are you talking about? What regime are you talking about?
You used to be upset with the United States and everything they did that was wrong around the world, but if your boy is in office, you're fine with that. But if it's George Bush, if this was George Bush and not Biden, you'd be criticizing him like you did all those years.
Wait,
but now it's Joe Biden. He can do no wrong.
now.
Hey, Joe Biden
I
said
don't know what
something.
you're
That's like
talking about.
you said Joe Biden told you something, and that's to you. I believe it's like listening to Muhammad or Jesus. Somebody told you, you're going to believe what Joe Biden says when there is a million lies that he's told that's easily provable.
Okay.
Just
All right.
minute.
Thank you. All right. Go ahead.
You
One at a time, Todd. And then I got to get Keith in here and then Nas.
First of all, I don't believe everything anybody says, but the United States government had nothing to do with that. Now, you will believe Donald Trump for some odd reason, and he's a proven liar. Now, but you have no problem believing him.
Where did he lie? When did
Trump don't ask him a question?
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, no, I want to make this clear. When he said that his son was doing Russian adoptions with the Russians, and that was a lie.
I don't know what you're talking
Remember, his son met with Russians, and it was supposed to be for the Russian adoptions. That was a lie.
That was when former President Trump was running the first time for president. But
they tried to give him some stuff on his opponent. They tried to give him some stuff, and he told them no. They stopped the meeting. They told him to get out.
Just a minute.
But
you asked me a question.
Your side actually did
telling
collude.
you when he lied. He lied for his son. He told his son to lie. So that was a lie. You asked me name one, and I just did.
Okay,
I'll give you another one.
If you don't.
You can't prove that's a lie because he could have.
Don't stop. Keith, look at the article. It says an administration official confirmed the back channeling with Moscow to West Wing playbook, emphasizing that such open channels are routinely used when officials on either side have important messages to convey. While Prigozhin's troops were marching through Rostov in southern Russia and on toward Moscow, the State Department urged all diplomatic personnel against leaving their diplomatic compounds, a move the U.S. official said was purely precautionary and not a reaction to any specific threat. Keith, doesn't that show that the United States want to assure Russia that they had nothing to do with it?
Well, at least they tried to. I mean, yeah, I guess that's what that says. But who knows? Who knows the truth? I don't think the American people really believe their government anymore at this point.
Like I don't know if you would say the American people believe their government. Why would you not believe the government that you were born and raised with?
Well, because the government I was born and raised with is not the government that we see now. It's not the administration that I'm seeing now. It is we are further away, far removed from our founding principles, and we do not govern ourselves as a representative republic.
Okay, thank you, Nas.
Yeah, but just listening to y'all, I think it's kind of funny what we call a regime or what we call an administration. The people we don't like, they become a regime. The people we do like is just an administration. You know what I mean? It's just a sleight of hand on the wording. But I mean, as far as this, I know just as much as everybody else, which is just mainstream reporting and stuff we're kind of picking up on. But I just don't feel like we know enough to really have too much on this. Ultimately, if you got a mercenary group, you probably need to pay them. You probably need to pay your mercenaries. That's the only thing I can really add that hasn't been said a million times about this situation, man. That overnight it seemed like it was going to be some kind of world-changing event, and then the next day it was just kind of over.
Okay, thank you. It is the last day of LGBTQ plus month, and we're going to talk about, I'm going to share the screen, and we're going to talk about what Kansas Attorney General did. If you look at the picture, you see him right here. Kansas Attorney General Chris Kobach. Can you see it? Chris Kobach answers questions from reporters during a news conference outside his office on Monday, May 1st. But he asked a federal judge on Friday to end a requirement that the state allow transgender people to update their birth certificates following the passage of new legislation. Attorney General Chris Kobach, Republican, requested that the judge modify a 2019 consent judgment, arguing that the recently enacted Senate Bill 180 requires state officials to act in a way that would violate the judgment. But now that the legislature has spoken, the agency is bound to execute the law as written. The consent judgment was a part of a previous lawsuit brought by 4 transgender Kansas residents over a state policy that barred them from obtaining updated birth certificates to match their gender identity. However, under SB 180, state agencies and offices are required to identify people as either male or female at birth for the purpose of complying with anti-discrimination laws and gathering accurate data. What makes this right or wrong, Nas?
Well, if this is the same Chris Kobach that I'm kind of aware of from Kansas, he's done some really weird work over the years. So if this is the same guy, we're talking about data collection and harvesting and selling of data. Big thing with him was cross-check, which was that system that allowed them to eliminate voters if you had similar names. So if you were Cynthia Rodriguez in Texas, in Houston, he could dispute your vote and say, well, there's another Cynthia Rodriguez in that same city. Maybe one of these people is not who they say they are. And then they could hold up your vote, and then that way your vote would count. So Kobach is a nefarious guy. So I look at this as just another way for him to figure out another demographic where he could somehow monetize this data. So that's what I would expect from that guy. But yeah, terrible person responsible for a lot of vote suppression and a lot of things we complained about over the last few years.
Stephen, do those that have changed their gender have the right to identify themselves the way they believe they are on their birth certificate?
I believe people that could change their gender should be able to do that, to change their thing on their birth certificate. But at this time, no one can change their gender. I don't care what operations you have, what medicines you take, what parts they cut off, what parts they put on. You cannot change your gender. You're going to be a man or a woman no matter what accessories you get. So I agree.
Okay, ma'am. Nobody asked you that. We're talking about this judgment. That's all we're talking about. So you can save your judgment for another segment.
I don't have any judgment. I just have a fact.
Move on. Okay, well, we don't need your fact.
A man can't go in and say, I've had everything changed and now I'm a woman. A man can't say I'm a woman now. No man can say I'm a woman.
Stacey. Remember, that's what
Go ahead, Stephen.
A man cannot say he's a woman because he was born a man. You can't change that with anything you do. So they can't go to their birth certificate and change it because they were born a man. They will live a man. They will die a man.
You contradicted yourself. You first said they could. Now you're saying they can't.
But I'm still a man that looks like a woman. I could put on all kinds of makeup and maybe look like an actor or maybe look like somebody, but I'm still me. It doesn't change. You cannot change. I can put on fur all over my body and have a tail hanging off, but I'm not a dog.
Okay, thank you.
I beg to differ.
Well, I got to remain consistent with my belief, and that is that no valid law.
Do you remember the question?
Yes.
Yeah. But, it seems to get diluted because we go into all these anyway, I was just going to say that, no law is valid if it's contrary to the natural law. And again, it's as simple as that. And you can't change, which means there's no way. Stephen's correct. You can't change your gender.
And now, what is natural law?
Natural law is God's law. The law
God?
that God.
Who's God? Who's God? Yours?
Jesus Christ is God. Now, I just wanted to say that when a man leaves his mother and father and cleaves to his wife, they are one, a man and a woman. And that's about as clear as it's going to get. You can't go contrary to the natural law.
But what about when a man leaves his mother and cleaves to his boyfriend?
think you can mute him while I finish? You think you can mute? I don't know if you can mute him or not. But anyway, we've got to understand that no law that contradicts natural law or the Constitution is going to be valid. It's simple as that. So, hey, there it is. This law.
Thank you.
Yeah, this law is right.
Cousin Todd, there is a pride organizers at festivities among LGBTQ events, and officials have warned them about a rise in threats against that community.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You wanna
Okay.
talk to
I
that?
discuss about that. Yes. Right after I dispute this nonsense. First of all, Stephen contradicted himself, but he talks so fast he probably doesn't know it. He said, "I don't mind if they change their identity on their birth certificate," and then he went backwards and said, "But you can't get it. You're not a girl if you're a boy. If you're a boy, you're going on and on."
I was saying if they really changed their sexuality from a man to a woman, if they really did that, then they can change it on the birth certificate. What I'm saying is, I know it. You got to think. What I'm saying is, nobody's ever done it. Nobody can do it, Todd.
Okay.
But if you really can do it, if you can go from a man to a woman or a woman to a man, then you should be able to change it on your birth certificate. So I am being consistent. I was kind of making a joke there. There's no way a man can turn into a woman and a woman can turn into a man. There's no way to discuss. Right here, look, this is a black shirt. If you want to say it's white, you can. But I can't argue with you, Todd.
We don't
this
know
is
what
a
he's
fact
talking about.
that everybody can see.
Okay, bye,
Thank
Felicia.
you. Finish up, Todd.
All right. So we've let the audience know that we've got a psychopath on our hands.
Yes.
So now I'm going to move on. Stephen contradicted himself and said, yes, they should be able to do that. And then he said, no.
I give up.
And so, of course, people should be able to change the birth certificate based on their sexuality. These people have.
Well, you mean based on their gender, not sexuality.
I mean,
people
gender,
can't change their birth certificate based on their sexuality. That means that somebody.
Okay. Slow down.
This is painful.
That means someone's birth certificate could say throuple.
Okay. So now I'm going to get back because Stacy's on the Gong Show with her two freaks. So I want to get back to the facts here.
Please.
People who have gone through an operation to change their gender, they should reflect that on the birth certificate if they so choose, and which is how it's been until this freak named Chris, who is a Trump supporter, no doubt, is trying to do different tricks to make that now illegal. This is what is puzzling to me. Whenever so-called Christian heterosexuals are consumed with gay people, it baffles the mind. It is peculiar to say the least. And they pretend, these are so-called Christians, that would be Keith, and sometimes Stephen, he goes back and forth. But they pretend, because that's a sin. And then I ask these demons, I say, well, isn't adultery a sin? I never hear you talking about that, probably because you're dating. Well, never mind.
Adultery is a sin.
And so I said, you never seem to talk about that. What about liars? Is that a sin? You never seem to go on and on about that, but you fixate on gay people. And then I asked this one sick freak that calls himself a Christian, do you sin? He said, yes. I said, do you sin every day? He said, yes. So how do you have time to discuss anybody else when you're a sinner yourself that sins every single day? Focus on you, not something that is completely.
It's a national problem.
No, ma'am.
We didn't bring it up, Todd. We didn't bring it up.
Hey,
this is part of the discussion. We didn't bring it up.
Listen to me.
This
You've
is
been
part of the
talking
show.
about this for 10 years. See, we've been doing this for 10 years. This isn't the first time. So
What have you been doing for 10
why
years?
are you consumed with gay people? It is
What have you
peculiar,
been doing for 10 years,
and
Todd?
it is peculiar
Yeah.
that you would be so consumed with gay people. That's
We're
peculiar.
not. We
Why
want to
are you
live.
so
We want to live and let
interested?
live, and you want to shove it down our throats, and we don't roll like that, man.
Oh gosh. Anyway, stop talking about gay people. Talk about yourselves. And the last
Well,
thing I want to say about
Stay
that
out of
is
the
this.
spotlight. We don't jump in the spotlight and have heterosexual
ma'am,
heterosexual
I'm not
parade.
talking to you.
I'm
Listen to me.
straight.
Listen
I'm
to me.
straight.
Men
Come on,
walking,
Todd.
Listen
naked
to
in
me.
We don't wear
All right, let him
chaps.
finish so I can move on. I got to move on. Let him finish, please.
This thing about natural law, you know, white people came from Europe and they wanted to escape that where the Catholics ruled everything. So the laws were based on Catholics. So they got out of Europe for that particular reason. Now you're trying to put them back in Europe.
So they left
Keith,
Europe. We
but
fought the
the
war.
thing is-
Our forefathers fought the war so we could be gay.
Shut up. So the thing is, Keith, fortunately, they don't listen to Negroes like you. You weren't even a part of it. So nobody's listening to you, not even Stephen.
And the Negroes like Keith.
All right, thank you. We're moving on. Ted Cruz. And this is Keith's favorite politician, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz calls on the House of Representatives.
Wait, which one is Ted Cruz? Is that the one that Trump said his wife is ugly and his father killed Kennedy?
Yes.
Is that the same
He
one?
wasn't lying.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's the same one.
Now
So
it's
Ted,
funny
I'll start with
because
you, Keith.
it's funny because before this is how two-faced your lover. I mean, your boyfriend. Your
Todd, is your
Stephen
name Keith?
is.
Todd, is your name Keith? It's Keith's
At
turn.
first, Stephen said, "I
Todd.
hate his guts for what he did. He let Donald Trump call his wife ugly, and he let him say he killed Kennedy.
He sounds exactly
no
like me, doesn't he? Listen
I
to
have
him.
no respect for him. How can a admit?" And now all of a sudden he's back in bed with him.
I'm not in bed with
How
anyone.
typical.
Ted Cruz calls on House to investigate impeaching Biden over the Hunter allegations. He says there is direct evidence. Do you know what that is, Keith?
Yeah.
I think he's frozen because he
Yeah,
got
he
this
is
silly
frozen.
grin on
Steven,
his face.
Do you know what that is, Stephen?
Oh,
Yes,
wait, Stephen's
the,
drinking vodka. Hold on, let him
You're
finish
breaking
getting
up.
that down in
It's
him.
gin. It's gin.
You're
Okay.
breaking up.
Vodka's further. I'm not until the Russian war is over. I will not drink vodka. I will drink gin.
So go ahead, please. Ted Cruz calling on the House. Do you want to say what that is?
To impeach
Can
Biden.
do you think of a more corrupt president of everything they've had? They have him on tape. They have the Hunter's laptop. They have everything right now. They know he's done deals with the Ukraine. He's done deals with Russia. Just wait, Todd. You're supporting the most evil, corrupt administration this country's ever had. I don't know why you do it. They don't like you. Joe Biden is the biggest racist president we've had since Lyndon Johnson. You listen to him talk since 1974. The group that you're supporting, I don't know why, because you think they got some kind of rights, special rights for special people, and you support them just because of that. Steven. They don't have your back.
Okay.
They don't have your back.
So Keith, do you want to talk about Ted Cruz calling on the House to investigate, to impeach Biden? What could they're saying? Let me share the screen. What they're saying is,
oh, he's out again.
Cruz said the WhatsApp.
Wait, Stephen, Keith is out again. You know, he probably has that Obama phone. Stephen, why don't you get your boyfriend a new phone?
Well, actually,
so if you look at the screen,
boyfriend.
excuse me.
You broke up? Oh, well, never mind. Go ahead.
I can't with you two.
We're just taking a little time, Todd.
Oh, well, you know what? I don't blame
It says
you.
Cruz said the WhatsApp messages are direct evidence of President Biden abusing his government power. And this was written by Kyle Morris of Fox News.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz is urging the House to look into impeaching President Biden after an IRS whistleblower on the Hunter Biden probe told Congress that the president's son invoked his father to pressure a Chinese business partner through WhatsApp and claimed that Elder Biden was in the room while he was making deals. Do you think that's impeachable, Stephen?
Absolutely, 100%. Do we not think it's impeachable?
What part of that is
Donald Trump was
impeachable?
jaywalking and they impeached him. Of course it's impeachable.
Jaywalk-
He is
oh,
the
okay.
most corrupt president
me
we've ever
examples.
had.
Give us
Why does
examples.
anybody
Thank you.
support?
Give
Why
us
does anybody support Joe
examples.
Biden?
Okay,
Why
thank
do you
you.
support Joe Biden?
Thank you.
Okay.
Nas, is that impeachable based on what Ted Cruz is seeking?
No, I think the real thing is reporters have to have some discernment and ability to not try to monetize everything. Sorry, I'm eating right now. But
Hey, what are you
when
eating?
Ted Cruz,
Yes. Who's down?
chicken, man. Since you wanted me to say it, Stacey. Chicken, okay? So
Is it baked or fried?
Fried.
But yeah, I don't think reporters should be taking calls like this. Like, there's supposedly an investigation. The person leading the investigation, I think his name is Corson, they asked him to provide the monetary details, evidence that they found.
Mm-hmm.
There were none. They said they had audio.
None.
They tried to ask for the audio. They had none.
None.
Then they claimed whistleblowers. And they said, okay, well, where are the we don't know. The whistleblowers may have disappeared. So
True.
if somebody just keeps running a con on you by acting like they have a case when they're really not presenting anything, they're just rolling with the idea of the rumor can do as much damage as the actual charge, then you get somebody like Stephen willing to believe that stuff. So, like you heard Stephen say, this is the most corrupt this, most corrupt that.
Not based on this. In general. In general, he's the most corrupt president we've ever had.
Wait a minute.
Hold on. So there have been 317 criminal indictments in recent years, different administrations. Do you know who is responsible for the most? And the answer would be Donald Trump. 215.
Because they want him out of office because he's taken them down. Because he's taken down the deep state. It was all fake. It was all fake.
Yeah, we know. They're all out to get you. It's all fake. It's all they and them. We get it. You and your conspiracy. But ultimately, we're talking about a really criminal person and criminal administration or regime, I guess, going back to a callback from earlier in the show. And if you're not willing to deal with that and you're going to fall for every banana in the tailpipe where they give you a correction on a story as opposed to dealing with what's actually happening, which is a former president has been indicted and is in serious legal trouble. If you fall for Ted Cruz telling you, yeah, we got the evidence, you just wait, boy, we're going to free it out. We got it. And it just never.
You're stuck to the wall, man. Y'all are done. You're stuck to the wall. You got nowhere to move, and you're trying to talk like it's bold.
Steven,
you have no boldness left.
Steven,
you're done.
I gotta get Keith.
You seem really emotional.
Keith didn't get a chance to talk about his favorite Ted Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to talk about it, Keith?
What? Well, Ted Cruz, I only thing I can say is that if they are successful, I don't know if they will be. I don't know if Republicans will be able to do it, but hey, more power to him if he can impeach Biden or start the process. But good luck. I mean, good luck. I mean, I believe in God.
But what will he be impeached for?
For all the things that you won't let us talk about because we don't have the time. How about that?
Ma'am, we have time. Tell me. Just tell me two.
How many years did the FBI suppress the knowledge
I'm not talking to you.
Hunter Biden laptop?
He switches
the
up
FBI, the CIA is working for the Democrat Party.
Ma'am,
they are weaponizing every avenue they can weaponize. That's what the Democrat Party.
I'm going to have to stop you all right there.
How can you be on that side? You're un-American.
Stop.
They
Look at the
checked his
screen.
laptop. There's nothing on.
Oh
Okay,
my
stop.
God.
Stop.
What do you think
Stop.
is on it?
Stop. Okay. Look at the
Well,
screen. Look at the screen, please.
Stacey,
Speaker Kevin McCarthy is floating the possibility that the House could open an impeachment inquiry into Attorney General Merrick Garland over Internal Revenue Service whistleblower allegations that Justice Department leadership improperly interfered in the Hunter Biden probe, which Garland has denied. Nas, I want to talk to the fact that everyone wants to impeach this person and that person, and how much that's costing the United States taxpayer.
Didn't say that when Trump was being impeached.
thank you.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Right on, Stephen.
it's a waste of money if it's not a
Get 'em.
legitimate case. Somebody just kind of made whatever, criminal offense and kind of been caught at it. But if somebody's doing just show trials where they're just saying, hey, we're just going to use this political mechanism to attack our opponent, then yeah, that's a problem. But the idea that the FBI, CIA, or any of these groups work for the DNC is laughable.
Not laughable, man.
Some of these people, man, you kind of see what I'm talking about. Like,
Hey, Stephen, how long has Trump
not
been
really
in
a leftist hippie
at
type of
taxpayer
hand,
expense?
you know what I mean?
I know these people must work for the government. They must.
Conservative and people who lean more to the right, in actuality. Just talking about the numbers of the membership base. And I get it. You guys have to fall for every con they throw out there. That's what you do. This is why Newsmax gets the money they get. This is why Fox gets the money they get. They're real effective at messaging. You give one simple message and continue to repeat it, and before you know it, Steve will do all the work for you. Because he wants to believe. So evidence doesn't matter. Facts don't matter.
No.
He works for the government.
No.
Okay,
No.
thank you. Keith, what did you want to say?
To answer your question, well, to ask you the question, Stacey, are you concerned about, let's see, Trump got in 2016. Ever since he came down that escalator, he was being investigated, launched investigation after investigation, and all the way up to indictments. How much does that cost the taxpayer?
Yeah, I am concerned about that. I'm very concerned about that.
We never
That costs
talked
the
about
American taxpayer a lot of money, and I think we should. I think we should be more fiscally responsible. And if they're going to do those things, do it one time and do it very responsibly.
Wait a minute. Don't fall for that, Stacey.
Wait, let me finish. To do it all these different times, like McCarthy is just floating out that he may impeach Merrick Garland, and then they want to impeach Biden. I mean, they're just like throwing all of this stuff out.
No, they are impeachable for different reasons, Stacey. Merrick Garland is impeachable for our border.
Everyone, if that's the case, Kevin McCarthy is impeachable. Everyone is impeachable. Border.
Wait, but Stacey,
it's at a 40-year high. It's at a 40-year high. He needs to be impeached. Garland needs to be impeached.
Now,
Joe Biden needs to be impeached.
On Fox News say this. Impeach him. Impeach him. For what specifically?
We impeached Donald Trump for nothing. We impeached Donald Trump twice for nothing. I was on your side then. I can honestly say we impeached Donald Trump for nothing, Todd. For nothing. A phone call? Look at what Joe Biden has done. The evidence is there. Okay. We have the receipts. Right. Joe Biden is done. We're going to have Carmi. We're going to have the vice president now.
Stop talking.
Right, thank you. I got to move on.
This is how stupid he is. We have the proof. We have the proof.
We have the proof.
Say what the proof is. He will never say what the proof is.
The proof is it's on the laptop.
There was nothing found on his laptop.
It's on the laptop. Yes, it is.
Except new
yes, it is.
When you need him.
There was nothing found on his laptop.
It was
nude pictures of himself.
No, it's not nude pictures. It's him doing negotiations with foreign people and making money and saying, make sure you give 10% to the big guy. And they have witnesses that are collaborating all this. The big guy is Joe Biden. The president of the United States is corrupt. And the reason
Stop.
The reason we give all the money.
Stop. Okay, Go ahead, Nas. And then I got to move on.
Yeah, so the funniest part about all of it is, for one, Joe Biden is this stupid, slow-witted, doddering old man who can't do anything except go to sleep, right? On one hand. Then on the other hand, he's this scheming, brilliant political strategist who's doing all this communism right under your nose and you don't even see it. So they make Joe Biden into a superhero character. And then the second part is, this Joe Biden and his criminal enterprise hinges on his most untrustworthy family member. Like when you're planning to do some criminal activity, yeah, get Hunter in there. Him and his addiction, that won't be a problem. I'm sure he'll be a good part. Like why do you think that they would use him for any criminal anything that could draw back to Joe? Like why do you make Joe Biden and his administration so stupid that Hunter Biden is who they hitching their wagon to?
Well, they don't want to make sense.
Before you say it.
Yeah, it doesn't have to make sense. Long as you say, you repeat what Fox News says. So when I ask these people, give me any proof, just anything. The laptop, because they heard Fox News keep saying laptop. But then when they drilled down on it, there was nothing on his laptop. Don't you know they would love for them to have any proof? There is none. So what they finally said was, we don't care that there is no tape and there's no tape. That we don't care. We just want to damage Joe Biden. But and that's fine. But know that this is a farce and there is no proof. We just want to damage Joe Biden for 2024.
Okay. So if you look at the screen I put up here, I shared, it says, this is usatoday.com on politics, what we know about Department of Justice's Trump audio recording. It was by Sarah Elbishish.
Now, on the other hand, we do have a recording here, and there's proof of it. Not just a nut job saying, "This check his laptop. Check his laptop." This is
Thank
proof.
you. Thank you. USA Today published today, June 28th at 3:03 p.m. A crucial piece of evidence in the Justice Department's case against Donald Trump, alleged mishandling of classified documents, was recently leaked. An audio recording, which first aired Monday on CNN this Monday, featured the former president discussing a document about Iran which described as highly confidential, admitting he couldn't declassify because he had left office, right? And why this matters is because while disputing the leaked audio recording, he also warned supporters yesterday in New Hampshire that additional indictments may soon follow. What else to know? Well, the recording was referenced in the federal indictment of Trump, and parts of the 2-minute clip were previously transcribed and cited in the indictment. Let me make this a little smaller. The bottom line, while the audio clip doesn't tell us anything more about the DOJ's case against Donald Trump, it does suggest that Trump not only kept government secrets that were still classified after leaving the White House, conflicting with his public statements about his alleged mishandling of classified documents. Keith, let's start with you. The former president basically acknowledged that he had these documents he shouldn't have had, correct?
I didn't hear him do that.
Okay, Stephen, the president acknowledged that he had documents that were not unclassified. Is that correct?
That may be what he said, but the guy who made the leak known, he's the guy that's going to get in trouble. And it is not in the indictment. That's a fallacy as well. Now, everything everybody's hearing is just a bunch of garbage. All this is to get Trump, stop Trump, don't let Trump run. That's all it is. And if they get public opinion, that's why this goes until the beginning of the next election. That's how long this court case is going. This is another thing. This is another impeachment. This is another phone call. This is another phone
Women
call. This is all BS. It's more BS because Donald Trump is going against the establishment. And there's people on this show that are suckle on the pigs or the hog's breasts of the establishment. And I don't know why, but that's their business. Do you deal with your deal? I'll believe in my God. You believe in your hog, whatever you do. But what I'm saying is, that Donald Trump is all he's doing.
Finish your point, Stephen.
All this is with Donald Trump is trying to bring him down so he cannot run against him because they're scared to death of him because they know they can't beat him. They know they're not going to be able to cheat as like they did before because we don't have COVID going on. They're scared to death of him. If they were not scared of him, they would not keep doing this. He goes after the establishment, the deep state. Thank you, Stacey. No, I believe everybody believes in God. I was just making a joke.
So again, that emotion, it gets to people, man. So if tonight I go rob a liquor store, holding my license up at the video camera as I point the gun at the clerk and tell him, give me the bottle, and walk out of the liquor store, and then I come on the show next week, I just want Steven to be in here telling y'all, no, it didn't happen. He didn't do it.
I would say it probably wouldn't be the first time.
Because that's essentially what he's doing now. Trump is what he is, man. He wasn't suited for this job. The job was too much. He's way too verbose. He doesn't think things out in a long-term, logical way. He just moves at whatever short-term thing he wants. And because of this, I mean, dude, what do you want me to say? He's on tape admitting that he's aware that the rule specifies that these things had to be classified while he was in office. So his lawyers can't defend him with that with that strategy anymore. And I know it's got to be hard for them working for this dude who he won't tell you everything. He'll lie to you. And then when the evidence is smacking you in the face, you got to try to figure out something else. Like, this dude is impossible to defend. And I don't know why Stephen is trying. Like, he's a really sloppy criminal.
Okay, Cousin Todd.
Well, he's trying because he's brainwashed. He's when facts don't matter anymore, facts just don't matter, then you get this kind of crazy, chaotic behavior. No matter what Trump does, they're just going after him. No, Stephen, he should not have taken those papers home with him. We've already discussed that. So that was wrong. Then, okay, they would have let him go if he gave them back. They begged him for over a year to give them back. That's a fact, Stephen.
It's not a fact.
I know you don't think it's a fact because you're infatuated with Donald Trump, even though he's never going to marry you.
I'm a never Trumper. I am an intelligent, independent thinker, and you're not.
You're not.
I am a never Trumper that can look at things and make my own decisions, and I'm not underneath anybody's umbrella. You're underneath a lot of umbrellas.
Okay.
I'm not.
You said you're not under an umbrella. Why didn't he give those papers back?
Don't ask him a question.
He didn't have to because he's the president. That's a lie. He didn't have to give those back.
He was not the president when he was living at Mar-a-Lago.
When he lived, it doesn't matter. No, when he leaves the White House, he can take everything he wants. Joe Biden can't. Mike Pence can't. But the president can. Obama did. Presidents do.
He wasn't the president when he left office. You know that, right?
It doesn't matter. The president can take what he wants. All of this is a show.
Okay, that's not true.
That's
not true. He can't. A president cannot take what he wants. I've got to move on.
And he declassifies it. He does so. He does.
I got to move on to the Supreme Court.
Did they declassify it or what?
Oh, he just left you right in the nick of time.
Supreme Court rejects controversial Trump-backed election law theory. Written by Ariane DeVoe and Tierney Sneed on Tuesday, June 27th at 3:42 p.m. Look at the Supreme Court said yesterday that the North Carolina Supreme Court did not violate the Elections Clause of the U.S. Constitution when it invalidated the state's 2022 congressional map, rejecting a broad version of a controversial legal independent state legislature theory pushed by supporters of former President Donald Trump. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the 6-3 opinion. The case had captured the nation's attention because Republican lawmakers in North Carolina were asking the justices to adopt a long dormant legal theory and hold that state courts and other state entities have a limited role in reviewing election rules established by state legislatures when it comes to federal elections. What were you going to say about that, Keith? He's stuck again.
Okay.
Stephen.
Go to his boyfriend. He'll probably say something crazy.
I
Go ahead, Stephen.
I can't hear you correctly. It's you're breaking up.
You were stuck.
Yeah,
but
but you're not gonna. Do you know anything about this case?
I'm not getting the whole story. I can't hear.
Okay, all right. I'll take it. Huh. Well, it was a farce that these people think that the judicial system has no place in government. When you are redistricting, of course, the law has to step in when you are gerrymandering, and which is what they were doing. And I can't believe these are Republicans who admitted that. And the Supreme Court said as much. So, which I'm shocked about.
Well, it was a 6-3 decision where you had all the Supreme Court justices except Gorsuch,
of course,
except Clarence Thomas,
of course,
and except Scalia, were the 3 dissenting justices going against this.
Right.
So you had a mixture. You had, Republicans, Supreme Court justices appointed by Republicans and Democrats.
Right. Well, the ones who was paid to do what they had to do did what their job was.
Okay.
And there are cases on the docket that's coming up, which is right in Clarence Thomas's wheelhouse. For example, affirmative action. They're going to be voting on that soon. How do you think he's going to vote, Keith?
Don't ask Keith. Aguna,
after he used affirmative action to get to where he is, now he thinks it's no longer needed.
So Aguna, when the Supreme Court rejects the Trump back election law theory, and you had 6-3, a mixture of justices appointed by Republicans and Democratic presidents agreeing against Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, and Samuel Alito. What does that say about the possibilities of the Supreme Court?
Well, I mean, they're trying to, at this point, they're trying to do their job. One of the things you got to be careful of, the Supreme Court does not make laws, right? So it's more so interpreting the law as constitutional or not. And so what the ruling is saying is that the redistricting is basically unconstitutional. It's not giving, the constituents in these districts a fair opportunity to, vote for their legal representation. A lot of times with this gerrymandering, they try to dilute, especially Democratic districts, especially in red states, where they try to marginalize folks. And the thing is, it's a two-way sword, because the Supreme Court, especially a conservative court, typically says that, the state has the right to draw up their districts. And for the most part, that's been upheld for a long time. But then when you see, especially when you have legislators that are predominantly Republican held, they tend to draw districts specifically in order to maintain or to increase representation on their side of the house. So, I mean, if you look at the last election cycle, there were several seats that were gained by, in particular by the Republicans. Democrats do it too. The Republicans gained several seats strictly based on redistricting, not even based on population changes or anything like this. At the end of the day, no matter if you're a Democrat or Republican, you should want to hold politicians accountable. So you should. I mean, I always wondered why they just didn't keep the
county lines as district. Just use the county lines or use those typical to draw these districts, and then hold both sides accountable. Because if you are a Republican and you have almost a 50-50 split, you have no choice but to be more moderate or to appeal to both constituencies. And that's what we as Americans should want.
Okay, thank you. Let's start our roundtable. We're out of time. Did anyone else want to comment on the Supreme Court with that? Did I miss anyone?
Yeah, the Supreme Court made a judgment. It was 6-3, and that's where it stands, and that's the way we accept it, and that's how our country is, and that's fine.
Yep. And by the way, how many? You have many more Democrat districts than Republican. The Democrats outnumber the Republicans, so they do the same thing. So
Hold on. You're saying two different things. You're saying there are more Democrat districts, or you're saying there are more registered Democrats in population?
I said both. I just said it. I just said what I said. There are more Democrat districts and registered Democrats because
there
of
are more Democratic districts and there are more registered Democrats, right? You're saying if that's what's true, if that is true, then you wouldn't have necessarily.
We can't hardly hear you, Guna.
Oh, I was just going to say, if that's true, if you're saying, if what Keith is saying is true, you wouldn't have a majority of Republicans in the House. That they're more Democratic districts, because the House is a representation of more of the population of Democrats of the country versus the Senate, where there's only 2 senators per state. The House is based on population. So if what you're saying is true, Keith, you'd have more Democrats in the House.
Just barely.
No, that's not true. It's based on gerrymandering. That's why the Supreme Court is saying it's unconstitutional, because it doesn't necessarily reflect the true population of the states.
Well, you don't live in California. I live in California, so I'll
what
rest
does that
that
got to do? It has nothing to do with anything. Yes, there are more registered Democrats in California. You have more representation. You have more California Democrats.
What I'm saying is we just did that here in Los Angeles. They just gerrymandered a whole bunch of districts. They did that here. I'm telling you that. So that's.
But there are more registered Democrats in California than there are Republicans.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so it's a reflection of the population then. When you have a state like Florida, where a lot of the Democrats are pushed into 1 or 2 districts, it's not a true representation of the population. It's a little bit different.
But you're making when you originally said that, you made it sound like it's the Republicans who are trying to get an edge.
No, I didn't say that. I said if you listen to what I first said in the beginning, I said they both typically do it, but because it's easier for Republicans to do it because you're drawing around major population centers. Democratic districts are typically condensed into major population centers, so it's easy to draw a district around the city than it is to cut a state in half. So what happens is that dilutes the vote.
Okay,
thank you.
No problem.
We're out of time. Let's start our roundtable discussion. I want to talk about cryptocurrency. And let me share my screen with you. And this is what Senator Elizabeth Warren is doing. Crypto is increasingly a partisan topic on the Hill, with Republicans broadly embracing the sector and Democrats skeptical of its merits. But Senator Warren sees room for collaboration, an approach that revolves around bipartisan buzzwords like China and fentanyl. Crypto needs to be subject to the same money laundering rules that banks, credit unions, gold traders, stockbrokers, credit card issuers, and the Western Union have to meet every single day, said Senator Elizabeth Warren. Crypto has become the payment of choice for 90 Chinese companies that are supplying the precursor drugs to Mexico so that they can mix up enough fentanyl to kill billions of people. Do you think, let's start with Keith, then Stephen, Aguna, and Cousin Todd. do you think crypto needs to be regulated like any other currency? Keith, you're gone. Keith, what happened? All right, Keith kind of got knocked out. Stephen.
Well, if you're going to get the government involved, or governments all around the world, and then they get into this cryptocurrency, you're going to be sorry for it, because they're going to take over. They're the ones that are going to, like, you think there might be like nefarious people that are involved in crypto now, and they might mess things up or whatever. Get these corrupt governments, starting with the United States and Ukraine and Mexico. Wait till all of them have all the power over something that we as people around the world can have power to. Does it get messed up sometimes? Yeah. Is it terrible sometimes? Yeah. But you know what? It's our own thing, and that's something that we should hold on to. But the another main thing is our government and the New World Order government. They want one currency. They want one thing to go, and everybody has to go with under the umbrella of the whole world. And we should not, as our autonomy, as our structure.
Where did you get that from?
We shouldn't want one currency.
The dark web.
One government.
Explain what
I got it from the Bible. I got it from the Bible.
Explain what.
Okay, Todd, do you want to explain what cryptocurrency is?
No, I do not. No, ma'am.
Explain what it is.
No. All right. Now, who's next?
Explain what it is.
Keith is next.
Has to do with Tales of the Crypt.
He's next. Let me pull. I'm going to pull up a screen that says what it is.
Oh no! Don't waste time with that. If he wants to know, he'll look it up. But in the meantime,
present the screen.
Buy. Those of you who are into it, I'm gonna tell you what to buy real quick. Well, maybe I shouldn't.
Okay, cryptocurrency. Excuse me. Meaning and definition.
No, but you assume all of the listeners.
Okay, please stop talking over me. Cryptocurrency, sometimes called cryptocurrency or crypto, is any form of currency that exists digitally. Can you see the screen? Or virtually, and uses cryptography to secure transactions. Cryptocurrencies don't have a central issuing or regulating authority, instead using a decentralized system to record transactions and issue new units. It's a digital payment system that doesn't rely on banks to verify transactions. It's a peer-to-peer system that can enable anyone, anywhere, to send and receive payments. Instead of being physical money carried around and exchanged in the real world, cryptocurrency payments exist purely as digital entries to an online database describing specific transactions. When you transfer cryptocurrency funds, the transactions are recorded in a public ledger. Cryptocurrency is stored in digital wallets. Now, Senator Elizabeth Warren is saying cryptocurrencies have to be regulated just like anything else in the United States. Do you agree with that or not, Keith?
Thanks.
Keith?
He's asleep. Keith, are you there?
No, I don't agree with it. Congress is the only
agree
one
with
that has
what?
the power. Congress has the power to.
Don't agree with what, Keith?
I don't agree with cryptocurrency. Period. Let me tell you what happens to.
So you think it should be regulated?
I just said it. I don't agree with cryptocurrency. She
So
just
you think it should
defined
be regulated?
and all it is online transactions. All it is, they're just bringing us into digital money.
But answer the question.
Digital
You
way
said
of determining currency.
so. You want it to be regulated.
I go to banks. Certain banks, they don't take cash. They don't take cash at a bank. They won't take cash payments. I go to certain stores. They won't take cash. And this is in the United States. They won't take United States currency. On the dollar bill, it says this is legal tender. That means it should be transactable in any area of the United States.
Yeah, I think we lost Keith.
Yeah, they're having a storm or something out west, maybe.
Well, it's the Obama phone.
Yeah, I mean, both Keith and Stephen have good points, but I don't think they fully understand what crypto is. But I kind of agree with the fact that it needs to be regulated in a sense of, the dollar is the world currency right now, and crypto is a way to kind of work around that. And so it just depends on, how risk adverse you are. But I still have like confidence in like centralized banking systems and things like that. So I think, yeah, the government, like anything, so there's two sides of this. The government wants to regulate it so they can tax it and they can make money off of it.
And
But
they
they
can
can control it. And so it won't. So it won't. Right now, we're sitting pretty because the dollar is the world currency. But as soon as you have crypto, or and it's very high risk. As soon as you have other types of currency working around that, then you get into situations where our banks aren't making money, people aren't making money. Those are things. It's a catch-22 to it. But I will say this: anything the regular government wants to control, you got to look at it like, man, there's an opportunity here. But with the opportunity, there's also a high risk. So I have a lot of friends that make a lot of money off of crypto. So they deal fast and furious. They always try to get me involved with it, and I'm like,
Well, name three.
Dogecoin, Bitcoin.
Yeah, everybody knows Bitcoin, but those things are very expensive. Jasmine is one that is interesting, and I think people should get into it before it takes off.
I mean, you could even have a Todd coin. You could have a cousin Todd coin.
No, but no. These coins I'm talking about is coins of the future. Now, when I say that, it deals with, it's hard to explain, but this is the way
you gotta get in and get out. I mean,
not necessarily. No, there's bull markets and bear markets.
Definitely not long term. Right.
I'm not sure.
So certain people
what
sell.
Do you call
certain
short
people
term?
sell logarithms. Short term is like a couple of days.
Oh no.
There are certain people. There are certain people that sell logarithms that they, once it hits a certain price point, they automatically sell it. So you're constantly selling.
Right,
but you're making money over time. That's like daily, weekly stuff. If you try to do long term,
it's
I'm just telling you what it is.
No, listen, there's a bull market and a bear market. You have to know that first. So you can't buy in a bull market because you're losing your money. You buy in a bear market. That's after things go down, like everybody's sold. Now you have like this stock adjustment. Huh?
Correct.
Okay,
but
so
you know what? People make money in both, right? So depending on buying and selling, because again, when the prices go down, if you buy and then they go back up again, you sell, right? So there's logarithms out there where you can make money and hedge your bet in both bull and bear markets, so that you're constantly, you're either gaining volume or you're selling and making money, and there's there's a happy medium.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm telling you that to go with, and Oguna, you ought to do this.
With it.
Well, you just take this little money out and don't even think about it anymore. Because I'm not telling you to do hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I'm telling you, do $1,000.
I'm from Nigeria, right, Todd? I'm Nigerian, so I know a scam when I know it.
Oh my God.
Okay, all right, we're out of time. Thank you very much. Todd, you finished your roundtable? You got 2 seconds.
The cryptocurrency, I think it should be regulated. And I think that's going to take about 2 years before that happens. So in those 2 years, get in now. And mind you, you do pay taxes on it because your winnings, they take 20%. You pay 20% in taxes.
Only when you cash out.
Right.
They can only touch it when you cash out. So some people are crypto rich.
Hey, I have a question for Aguna. Has Congress voted on any of this, or are they just doing?
Okay, this is what my whole point was, Keith.
Has
and
Congress
that's what I
voted
talked
on
about in the
this?
beginning.
Or are they just doing?
He couldn't hear you. They didn't vote on it, Keith.
on.
They didn't vote on it yet. This is what she was talking about, but he was out. So when you have the Obama phone,
Has
it's
Congress
hard
voted
to
on any of this?
All right,
he keeps
thank you.
asking the same thing.
To our first responders in our communities, you make our lives livable. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To our women and men of the U.S. military for all that you do in sacrificing your lives so that we are free to say whatever we choose on this show. We are forever indebted. On behalf of Aguna, the Nigerian moderate Republican, Keith, the constitutional conservative, Stephen, the independent thinker,
And the dark web user.
and my cousin Todd.
I've never heard of the dark web, so Todd brought it up.
I'm Stacey Johnson. Let's
All right.
keep this
Bye, everybody.
conversation going on Instagram, and check out any show you'd like to see on YouTube. We're off next week. Happy birthday, America.
For 2
And we're
weeks.
off the next week, the week after that, July 12th. I've got something I've got to do. So we'll see you back later on in July live. But until we come back, check out previous episodes at Sporlitiks on YouTube or check us out on Instagram. Good night.
I thought you said that there was a story that Keith wanted to talk about. Remember that?
Oh, Keith, what was that story you wanted to talk about with those kids you said breaking something up?
Oh, he's unavailable. He's not there.
All right. Good
Well,
night.
when he
There's
said,
Aguna.
oh my
Hey, Guna,
God.
where are you? Are you hiding somewhere?
I'm in New Orleans. I'm going to my hotel.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
I'm heading to my hotel.
I love New Orleans. Hey, are you eating well out there?
I just got here. I just landed.
Oh, that's awesome,
Oh.
man.
I'm
Have fun.
My car heading over. Yeah, I'm gonna hit Hattie Mae's, Chase. I'm gonna hit some other. I got a list. My wife sent me a bunch of restaurants. I come to New Orleans at least once or twice a year. So
Right,
Oh.
right. I haven't been in a little while, but it's nice. Very nice.
yeah, so
You're gonna put on 10 pounds, you know it, but you're gonna have to run a couple more miles a day.
I'm gonna try to pace myself though.
Are you driving the car like that?
No, I'm
No,
riding.
he's in a cab.
Okay, because I was like, he can't be driving the way he's moving.
I'm in an Uber.
Yeah.
Oh. All right.
Right.
All right. Good night. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Good night.
Good night. Y'all take care.
Happy
Take
4th
care.
of July, America.
Happy 4th of July. God bless us,
Take care, guys.
everyone.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Guna.
Take care.